Shalom and welcome to 2 Minutes of Torah. This year is entitled Drinking Water on Yom Kippur and Drinking Water on Hanukkah. Sounds like a strange title, but here's what it's all about. The Shulchan Aruch writes in Tuf Reish Ayin Hilchot Hanukkah that one must not fast on Hanukkah. The Gemara Rosh Hashanah talks about Gilat Tanit, a list of days that one's not allowed to fast, and even though that list is no longer followed, Hanukkah still applies. We cannot fast on Hanukkah. Such a great miracle applied on Hanukkah and Purim, and therefore we do not fast. Now, what does it mean not to fast? So, what do you eat on Hanukkah? Well, let's take the following scenario. A person goes ahead and has a late Hanukkah party at night, and he wakes up a little bit late, goes to 9:30 minyan. By the time he finishes, 10:30, 11, and he sits and learns a little bit after minyan. Before he turns around, it's 11:30. That's already midday. Chatzot is 11:24. So is it a violation of fasting on Hanukkah? What a fascinating question. So the fact is, on Shabbat, in Hilchot Shabbat, Reish Pei Chet and Or Chaim, it says clearly a person cannot fast till midday. He must eat before midday. So it's not so clear. What does that mean, eat before midday? Would it be enough simply to have a drink of water? In America, I remember shul was 9:15. We started. We say Shema beforehand and daven at 9:15. Very often, 11:30, 12 o'clock, you start eating. It's already after midday. So can a person solve this by simply having water before he goes to shul? It's before davening. He's allowed to have a drink of water, and that's fine. So that question brings us to Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, if one has water, a cup of water, he's thirsty and drinks a cup of water on Yom Kippur, is he chayiv kares, liable for excision? So Rav Avadia Yosef Zecher Tzadik Livrach and Yabia Omer Chelik Bet Siman Lamed Aleph writes that there are those that say that water would not make one liable for kares, but he rejects that opinion. He says no, water one would be liable for karet, even though water doesn't have the full status of juice and other liquids and food. A person could not use water for an eruv trumin. Still, regarding Yom Kippur, it would be considered a violation of inat. You must have inoi affliction. When you have a cup of water, that removes, on a biblical level, the affliction. So therefore, having water removes inoi, removes affliction. So can we go ahead and now say, so just like on Yom Kippur, I cannot have water because it removes my affliction. So therefore, on Shabbat in the morning and Hanukkah, I can have a cup of water, and that also will remove my affliction, my state of inoi, and that's what I have to do. I'm not allowed to have a state of ta'anit, inoi, affliction. Not so simple. If one looks at the commentaries in Reish Pei Chet and Hilchot Shabbat, not so simple. Do you have to have food, mazon? Rosh Hashanah says a cup of coffee might help. Some say water would help. It's not so clear. Why? Once you remove inoi, affliction, then that should be enough. The only thing is, if you look at the Bir Halacha in Reish Pei Chet, what does he say? He writes that this might be a biblical mitzvah. Or maybe it's from Divrei Kabbalah, because Yeshua says, "V'kafshel l'Shabbat oneg." Oneg. And the psukim from the Torah and Rabbanan talk about oneg and Shabbos being a special day. Wait a second. So whether it's from the Torah or Rabbanan is one shaila, but he brings the concept of oneg. Maybe a cup of water removes the status of inoi. You're not in a state of tanis, you're not in a state of affliction, but maybe on Shabbos is not just before midday. You have to make sure you remove the technical status of inoi, affliction. You have to have some involvement in oneg. And maybe water would not be enough. Maybe a cup of coffee, cake, something else would be required here. And that's a bit of a discussion in the poskim. Just to summarize, it's possible to say a svara, offered by my son Yaakov, said that, wait, maybe on Shabbos dafka, water would not suffice because you can't just remove the state of inoi, affliction, but you need some oneg. And there you have to get into the definition. What's the basic minimal definition of an oneg? But maybe on Hanukkah, a cup of water would suffice. Why? Because on Hanukkah, it says in Megillas Tanis, you have an Issa Tanis. And this Shulchan Aruch Taf Reish Ayin Paskins, you cannot have Tanit. Tana means Inoi, affliction. So you simply remove the affliction by having a cup of water, which, as we learned from Hilchot Yom Kippurim, that on most poskim say, halachot ketana, others are not so sure, but most poskim say that water on a biblical level removes Inoi. And therefore, on Yom Kippur, it's a problem to have water that removes Inoi. On Hanukkah, it's a good thing, because all you need on Hanukkah is simply to remove Inoi, so you're not in a state of ta'anit fasting, as opposed to Shabbat and Yom Tov. There you might have something positive, not just remove the affliction, but actually have some kind of an oneg, and therefore there on Shabbat, maybe you need to have more than just a cup of water. But on Hanukkah, it would seem that a cup of water would be enough. L'ma'aseh, it turns out on Shabbos, Yom Tov, a person can make sure to have some other drink before Chatzot. It definitely would be meritorious. There are those that say water would suffice. Since we're about a possibly biblical mitzvah, a person can be machmir, it's a good chumrah stringency. And on Chanukah, it would seem that just having a cup of water before Chatzot, most times a person is going to eat anyway before midday, but if he runs late and minions running late and having a seder, at least it would be important to at leist have a cup of water in the base medrash before Chatzot to remove the state of Inoi. Shalom.